Alright guys, we are back with another Raid Shadow Legends video. I hope everyone's having an amazing day. Today we've got a lot going on in the world of Raid actually. We have got some super raids to keep you notified on, the 10x champions to coincide with the Bambus Fourleaf fusion going live tomorrow, but of course the summoning event starting this weekend and the champions that's in them. And then finally I'm going to be summoning my extra legendary sacred shards in hope for a duplicate newt. Yes, you heard that right guys. Now, there's not a bunch of champions in the game, non-void, that I would really love to have a duplicate of, and Newt stands as one of those for me. And the simple reason being is, he's in my Nightmare Hydra team at the moment. I would love to get him in my second Hydra team for Brutal. Secondly, speeding up my Phantom Shogun's team and just content all around the board, maybe even the Dark Fae as well. I just feel like you have a lot of value on my account to, speed up my runs and get things done in a more consistent basis. I actually was scared to make this video because I seen 10x from Ancients, 10x from Primals, and then I was like, where on earth is the Sacreds? I'm pretty sure I read it from Sacred Shards as well, and then boom, it was sitting there right at the bottom. I just have to scroll down, but that's just me being a noob. But before we go into the summons, I guess let's just break down the events that you guys will be anticipating for the fusion. So on Thursday, September 28th, they're enabling the super raids for the Dragon's Lair. On Sunday, October 1st, it'll be for the Ice Golem's Peak. After that, on October 4th, it'll be for the Fire Knight. And then finally, on October 7th, it will be for the Spider's Den. And in a sense, this kind of gives us a timeline of what we're going to be anticipating in terms of the order of the dungeons that we will be facing from the Fusion calendar. But once we get some news on that, I'll be sure to post the calendar in my community post. And then in terms of the 10x champions starting on Friday 29th, there's going to be, firstly, a 2x event to summon epic and legendary champions from Primal Shards. So for anyone that's been hoarding or spending, I'm not sure what you guys want to do with these primals, but I don't have any. They're only boosting the odds for only epics and legendaries, which I find a little bit odd. Like, just put the extra 1% for the mythicals as well, right? I've never understood it, but, in terms of odds, it will be pretty decent to get those champions there. So, down to your discretion if you want to save for a future event where they might do a double on mythicals finally, or if you just want to go for the double on the legendary or the epic champions. But in terms of the 10x event, it's going to be for Vitreous the Anointed, which I can't show you at the moment, but stay tuned towards the end of the video where I'll just briefly show you the new champions from the test server, as they're not live in game at the moment. But he's the new Sacred Order Void Legendary, who is pretty decent actually. Potential big damage numbers to come out from him, but I'm going to have to playtest him first. Secondly, there's going to be a Krizia from the Dwarfs. I don't have her personally, but infamous for that max HP, taking down those bosses, and phenomenal in so many areas, right? And then in terms of Ancient Sacreds and Primal Shards from 10x's, it's going to be for Trunda, who I was lucky enough to get maybe around 6 months ago. I've been using her in some Hydra teams from time to time, and she stands as a really strong nuker for the arena, great for the Hydra boss, and, we got damage all around the board with those Thunderfires. Next up, we got Hefrak, who's a champion I don't have, but for me personally, I've got way too many nukers on my account, and I would rather summon for this extra legendary to potentially get a newt, because that's where I get my value from. But increased attack, increased crit rate, this passive that can come through, and whenever an ally is killed, instantly activates this A2, and kaboom, deals some crazy damage, right? So a phenomenal champion you may see from your shards. Next up, we got Skullcrown. Where is she? She took me years to get, but a great champion that has these unkillable buffs when she gets below a specific threshold, and great AoE damage around the board. We've also got Phylesia from the Barbarians, I believe. Is she from the Barbarians? No? Oh, is she a Night Revenant as well? I probably got that wrong there. So, boom, boom, boom. There she is. So she comes through with this AoE decreased defense. She increases the duration of all debuffs on enemies by 1 turn as well. And then we got a debuff spread effect, taking one random buff from the target and placing on enemies under Hex. And then also, when attacking enemies under decreased defense, has a chance of placing that Hex. So, pretty sweet champion. Next up, we got Senesha. The counterpart to the Skullcrown. And she's got this very strong immortality where she can equalize the HP of all allies, and the HP levels of all allies will be brought up to the level with the highest HP, then heals the target by 10% as well. We got some skill manipulation and then a bit of a heal as well on the target with the lowest HP, and then some extra hits on targets that's under 50% HP. And then last but not least, we've got the AoE nuker in Magna from the Demon Spawn faction. comes through with this percussive pound and kaboom. I'm pretty sure many of you guys have seen this in the arena. And then also some debuff spread effects and increasing the duration of burns and some nice decreased defense coming out from that A1 ability. So overall, a pretty good 10x, right? Especially if you're going for the fusion and you might not have some of these champions, then, you know, ones that you could see on the list coming up. But we all know how the 10x's go nowadays. Also, we've got this free pack. I actually wanted to check this out in today's video, to be fair. Where is it? It was... Where's it gone? Plarium point gift. So we get 4,000 Plarium points, a 4-star chicken, and 4 sets of multi-battles. That's actually pretty good. Like, especially if you're a mobile player and you don't have auto-clickers. This is very valuable, right? Like, I use these personally. I love using these. But Plarium points, how much are we going to get from that? Do I get... Am I close to Sisha yet? Only time will tell. Well, we got a red dot, which means that we got something. Wait, whoa. That gave me quite a lot there. Joy is, this is all incentivization. They're telling you YST, you know? Now you just got to spend another 30 grand, not 40 grand, and you can get yourself a Sisha. But alright, guys, let's get into the juicy stuff, man. Let's do it. So, I do want to save some shards, right? I am going to be going all in if needs be, I guess. But I do need some for the Summer Rush or the Champion Chase for this weekend, depending on which one it is, right? I do have a bunch of Ancients for the event afterwards. Hopefully it's a 2x Ancients, I can't completely remember. But I'm thinking that maybe 5 Voids and maybe keeping 4 Sacred should give me enough points to just get the rare champions from the fusion, right? So wish me luck, guys. I do want a Nekmufar as well. If any of you guys did summon, let me know in the comment section below. But of course, and oh damn, we're out of space. Be right back, guys. Alright, so we've got some space now, and yeah, as I was saying is, if you're going for the fusion and you don't have a bunch of shards and you want to go for Bambus, definitely maybe hold off on your shards. This is just something as an endgame player, I just feel like it's a very cool time to summon for me, so I'm not guaranteed to proc it, but, you know, I'm taking that gamble in hope to get a newt who would drastically change my account having a second one. In terms of epics, I'm not sure who I would want, to be fair. Is there anyone that's non-void that I'll really be... Here we go. We procced it early, and we got a Jenny the Giant. Okay, can we get the newts? Come on. Bring it home. A Norog. Oh, that's disgusting. That's a dirty one. Oh, no. I wanted a newt. I wanted a newt, man. Ah. Well, I'll tell you one upside is... I do have Alsgore Crimson Horn, and I did miss out on the Jetney the Giant fusion, so now I've got the combination of the counterparts, right? So in one way, it's an upside. Norog is not trash. Don't let my reaction, you know, put the Norog lovers down. Like, he does come through with an AoE block buffs on a 3-turn cooldown. This is phenomenal. We got this passive that's immune to stun, freeze, sleep debuffs, and decreases the damage taken by allies by 7.5%, and also immune to specific debuffs and an extra value here after the ascended skill. And then also a block active skills on the A1, so there's definitely some uses for Norog, but it's just a dupe and it's not a newt. Damn it. I seen the little run. I weirdly thought that it was going to be a newt there, but one upside is I now have 10 Sacred Shards still, to potentially get, like, the epic champion if they give us a way to get an extra one. But that's not guaranteed yet. Ah, oh, damn. I really thought I was going to get it there. But, you know, it's just the way that the cookie crumbles. It's just the way the cookie crumbles. But, yeah, a new Barbarian. Can't complain with a non-dupe, right? But in terms of Faction Guardians, I'm actually happy that it propped pretty earlier there. Wait, where's Norog from? He's from the Ogrins, right? Wait, what? Where's Norog? Skinwalkers? Oh, okay, this is pretty good then. We've maxed out my Faction Guardians. That's pretty sweet. I think this is my first Faction Guardians in terms of legendaries that I've maxed out. Let's have a quick look. 4 out of 10, 4 out of 10s. Yeah, oh, that's pretty cool. So my first ever 10 out of 10 is the Skinwalkers. That's pretty sweet. All right, so we made the exact space that we need. So we're going to try a Temple of Ancients. Come on, bring me the newts. I'm not going to be going all in here. Come on. Epic champion, more epic champions. Okay, so that never propped me to luck. It did work for me on the 10x event for Harima, which is why I didn't summon yesterday. But come on, shall we just try 1 or 2? Epic. Ogrin, or Occult Brawler, sorry. Pretty cool champion for poisons. Last one, I'm keeping 8, just in case I need it for the fusion. Oh, we got it, come on. Oh, wait, that's good luck though, guys. That is good luck. Well, we've had 3 shots at it and none of them procced. Wow, that was insane luck, to be fair, in terms of odds, right? Like, I was 8 into pity, I summoned 2, and I got the extra legendary. So we didn't even hit mercy on the first one, to be fair. And then we just summoned 2 more shards and got another legendary. On no mercy again. Because if we have a look here, right? It's after 12 summons, without a legendary, there's a 2% on each one. And I hit all 3 of those legendaries in a sense before P. So got pretty lucky there in terms of the 6% chance from those sacred shards. Pretty sweet. Can't complain. Corvus the Corruptor, another dupe, another one for the Faction Guardians. Amazing champion, by the way. Amazing champion. I do use him a lot. Sacred Order, right? And he's my first one. On that note, guys, that's going to be it for the summons. I'm going to be saving the rest for the 10x event this weekend to hopefully get the epic. But let's just head into the test servers and we can head into Victorious so you guys can see some of the new champions as well whilst we're over there. So let's get into it. Alright then, so we're now live on the test server to check out some of these new champions, and my apologies guys that I got this news to you late in terms of the new champs. I had to head out with my wife earlier, who's a wheelchair user, to kind of upgrade her wheelchair, you know, get something a little bit better. She's been using the same one for about 5 years now, I believe. So we're just trying to get the upgrade, and it always blows me away when I go to these places because some of them go like 10 miles an hour or 8 miles an hour or something. Like, before you know it, they're going to be going faster than my car outside, and I'm going to have to go in the wheelchair as well and join her. But yeah, that's basically why I couldn't get the video out on time, because it was pretty early in the morning. But yeah, this champion, Victorious, looks pretty cool. Got a lot of potential to do some insane damage due to his high base attack of 1.7k. So Holy Terror attacks one enemy 2 times. The first hit heals this champion by 30% of the damage inflicted, and the second hit has a 65% chance of placing a fear debuff for 1 turn. And if the target is a boss, the second hit has a chance of placing a decreased speed debuff for 2 turns. Now, I'm always a fan when Raid does stuff with their champions, where it's like, if you're in the arena, the fear is going to be great on some enemies, but you can't use fear against the bosses, right? So it kind of substitutes it with a decreased speed instead. So, you know, kind of caters to both playstyles in PvE and PvP content. Now, the one that I feel might be the money scaling ability, but we do have to do some testing for the damage numbers of these champs, will be the Storm Righteousness, where he attacks all enemies, and before attacking removes all increased defense, ally protection, and strengthen buffs from all enemies, and this cannot be resisted, which is crazy, right? But also ignores 30% of each target's defense, and boosts his champion's turn meter by 30% for each enemy alive after the attack. So there's a lot of synergies coming out of here for like a crazy damaged nuke in the arena, right? But once again, we need to playtest him. But stay tuned on the channel, guys, and from all of these champions that we mentioned, which one do you want to see showcased first? Because I will be covering all of them, and maybe save some of the videos for when I go to Vegas with the HH Gaming guys. I'm just not sure if that's too far away, because it's still about a couple weeks away. We'll see, but I'll try and focus on at least Bambus Fourleaf and some of the res in the mix here. So, by my hand attacks one enemy 2 times. The first hit will destroy the enemy's max HP by 20% of the damage dealt, and cannot destroy a single enemy's max HP by more than 75%, which is actually pretty crazy that it scales up to that value in the first place. But if the target is a boss, will destroy the max HP equal to 35% of the damage dealt, which could be very cool for like the Scarab King teams if you're using those shield strategies out there. The second hit will also ignore 30% of the target's defense if they have no active skills on cooldown, and if the target does have any on cooldown, ignores 50% instead, which is pretty bonkers, and ignores all of these specific conditions. In the passive, instantly resets the cooldown of one of this champion's random active skills whenever an enemy increases the cooldown of any of their skills, which is actually pretty crazy, and it could be a kind of like a counter to like a Ward or a Yumiko in a sense, right? Like if they put it on cooldown and brings back one of the active skills, potentially this one, allows you to come through and kaboom and put you straight back into the fight, right? So it could have some potentials there. And I feel like this is what Glacia's Soul Guide should have been in a sense, right? Do you know the way that she kind of preempts a little bit and then you can go back and put the freeze? I feel like this kind of mechanic is pretty cool. Also, granted extra turn if a skill's cooldown was reset, and after granting the extra turn, places this skill on cooldown. Alright, so there's a lot of quirkiness coming out from this passive here, so if anyone's summoning Void Shards, you might get your hand on this champion from the 10x event. Now, in terms of the next one, I'm not even going to read the list, I'm going to try and remember them all for you guys, you know, let's see how much I pay attention. I believe there's one from the Sylvan Watchers. We've got Mr. Tumnus from Narnia, for anyone that likes the Chronicles of Narnia out there. Lion the Witch in the Wardrobe and all that good stuff. We got Pan the Bowhorn. Pretty interesting champion. He's basically got a strong chance to place a freeze on the A1. I believe that this was maybe made for the Fire Knight Heart, where the freeze mechanic is to keep the turn meter down, and also ignores 50% of the target's resistance if the target speed is equal to or less than his champion's speed. Pretty cool, right? On the Emerald, Salvo attacks all enemies and before attacking will amplify his attack by 50% and place an increased speed buff on this champion for 3 turns, but there's no extra turn in this skill, but you know, he does it before attacking, just leading to that extra damage output. Next up, he attacks one enemy 3 times and each hit will ignore 10% of the target's defense. Pretty sweet actually. It kind of reminds me of Weregren, who we'll lead into in a second just for some comparison. Because he also places a True Fear debuff for 2 turns from an each hit placement, and then will ignore 50% of the target's resistance if they're under the speed thresholds or equal to it. And then if the target is a boss, will replace it with a weaken, kind of leading back to the Victorious as well. They're giving that substitute when you're facing a boss or facing a champion, which I'm a big fan of. And also a speed in dungeons by 20%. So overall, a pretty sweet champion, and if you're not going for the Panda Fusion, might be somebody you might want to consider, right, for progression. So next up here, we're going to be going into the, is it the Knight's Revenant? I believe it's the Knight's Revenant. And we got a Malkith. Where's he gone? He flew away with his bird wings. Well, here he is. He looks pretty cool. I felt like he looks like he belongs in the undead hordes, but, you know. What do you guys think about the aesthetics here? For me, it's a little bit too much, but he still looks pretty cool with the mask and stuff. But the main thing's the kit. So with the Death Plume, attacks one enemy, has a chance of stealing a random buff. Simple but effective, right? In some areas. Has an AoE that has a 100% chance once booked of decreasing the duration of all enemy buffs by 1 turn, and also increasing the duration of all ally buffs by 1 turn. Very similar to those Godseeker, Neri, Sandlash survivors, and can fit into so many teams for Hydra or the Demon Lord, for instance. But not sure about the damage yet, but his base attack is looking a little high, but he is a support champion, right? But one of the main things is, revives 2 random allies with 30% HP and 30% turn meter, and then places a shield buff on those revived allies for 2 turns, equal to 30% of this champion's max HP, with an aura of accuracy in Faction Wars crypts. Now, when we start to look for revivers from this faction, it's actually pretty minimal, guys. Like what, there's Erector Droth, right? Outside of that, I don't think any of these other champions do a revival, right? But correct me in the comments if I'm wrong. I'm not going to go through every champion, but from first glance, I don't think there's any other ones, so you know, it could be a pretty cool one to pick up if you manage to get him, and if you're struggling in that faction wars, can definitely come through and clutch it up for you with those revive abilities on a 4-turn cooldown, which is pretty good as well. Now, in terms of the res, well, actually no, but let's go into the other Void Legendary first, in Togron the Conjoined. You guys have to see this aesthetic here, right? Let's just pause for a second. You don't want to miss out on this one, trust me. So he's going to get something out of his pot, and then he's going to feed it, and then he's going to bite his hand. Here he goes. Oh, God's sake. I get too easily pleased. And there's a big goat on his back. What's his obsession with all of these cutlery? He's literally got a crown full of cutlery. It's crazy. But in terms of the skills, attacks one enemy, has a chance of applying a buff spread, taking 1 random buff and placing on all allies. Sorry, pretty cool. Heals all allies by 20% of this champion's max HP. Pretty good base here. And places a 30% increased speed buff on all allies for 2 turns. And a continuous heal on allies whose current HP is below 50% after the initial heal. So could be pretty sweet for maybe the Hydra boss, for instance, or just Doom Tower progression. Has some universal value. Now, with the Brother's Generosity, increases the turn meters of all allies by 20%, and then places a 50% increased accuracy on all allies for 2 turns, and then removes all debuffs from all allies. So full out cleanse, increased accuracy, turn meter fills, increased speed, nice heals, and buff spreads. It's actually pretty sweet for a champion. I'm not sure about Void Legendary worthy, but I feel like the highlight is this passive here with Fill Your Bellies, because increases this champion's max HP by 10% every time they use an active skill, and stacks up to 50% but will reset each round. Also increases each ally's max HP by 5% every time they use an active skill, and stacks up to 50% and once again resets each round. And I feel like this can be stacking up really high for your team over the course of the battle, right? So I'll be really anxious to try this out and see how practical it will be in increasing those max HPs. So yeah, a pretty cool champion overall, and a speed in all battles by 20%. But let me know your overall thoughts on Togron there. You're a quirky champion, right? So in terms of the res, we got a new carry for the faction wars, for the skinwalkers, and it's actually Tolog. the meat carver, and he stands as the first rare champion from this faction that can actually come through and place a revive. Now, we do have Horferis, right, from the epics, but nobody else from the epics, and then we've got stuff like Mighty Uko. But in terms of Tolog, he comes through, does a single target revive, 10 meter heals and continuous heals as well, on a 4-turn cooldown. Like, if you're progressing and you really feel like for those 3 stars you just need a revival, you could probably bring in Meat Carver, pick up the slack and do the job for you. Now, another thing that I was thinking of, right, is if you could potentially keep him alive before the fusion finishes and you're going for the fusion, you might be able to just quickly get some use out of him, get your Skinwalker's faction wars done, and then move on, right? And just like use him for the fusion as well. So you could be killing 2 birds in 1 stone, but at the same time, you only want him at rank 4. So, you know, it's down to your discretion if you want to try that out or not. But attacks one enemy 2 times, each hit heals this champion, pretty sweet. And then also an increased defense and a continuous heal on all allies, but it's the 30% variation. And then also replaces stolen, removed, or expired continuous heals from Skinwalkers with a 7.5% instead, just to kind of keep those heals flowing throughout the battle. And one thing to note is the base stats of 20,000 HP, which is significantly high for a rare. So overall, pretty basic, but you know, you can be cutting up the slack for players in the faction wars. I'm heading into the... Oh, we got 4 rares to pick up on here. Can you remember them all? I believe there was one from the Sylvan Watchers, no? High Elves? Actually, no, High Elves, there is one. There is Selenia, who I think is one of the best rares to be added into the game, pairing up with Tree Shield, not from the Sylvan Watchers from beforehand. And what it comes down to is this A1 with a self-healing mechanic, pretty sweet when attacking targets under burns. But the main thing is she does a 25% increased accuracy on this champion, attacks 3 times at random, and each has a great chance of placing a burn debuff for 2 turns. Now, this is pretty cool to come out from a rare and can really go into those Hydra teams if you're lacking on HP burn options. She also extends the value of those HP burn debuffs as well at a 65% chance on a 3-turn cooldown. And I felt like a really cool synergy was like another single target burner such as Mishinaki. You pair her with Selenia, she's extending the value of both of their burns together, and then you kind of got that even coverage over the battle. So on her own, can she fulfill the role? Yes, I guess, but it's a 4-turn cooldown, so, you know, it might not be as effective as you want to. Once you start gelling 2 champions together with similar numbers in terms of single target or random abilities, you'll be able to cover the burn on a consistent basis, so... Yeah, pretty cool rare champion. And then if we head into the Demon Spawn, we've actually got this Petrifier Rockroot. I think she's like the 3rd mutation of Hellfreak into Hellborn. And then now we got this one. She's like the final form, right? But I actually felt like she's going to be a pretty sweet budget DPS option for unkillable clan boss teams out there. Now, what do I mean by this? Firstly, great lead aura position champion if you're struggling to reach those accuracy thresholds because you get 30 in all battles. But also attacks 3 times at random, of course if you've only got 1 target, i.e. the clan boss, all going onto him. And each has a 40% chance of placing a 25% poison sensitivity debuff for 2 turns. But after that, if all hits land on the same target, of course the clan boss, places a 5% poison debuff as well, so the big variation on a 4-turn cooldown. Now this is pretty sweet to come out from a rare, right? Of course we've got Frozen Banshee for poison and stuff like that. But what she's covering is, if the target is under a sensitivity, she comes through with a pretty small chance granted, but to place the big version of decreased defense debuff. So you're getting poison, poison sensitivity, decreased defense, and also another poison coming out from this A2. So might not be the best champion in the game, but definitely a option to coincide in some of those unkillable teams. So we'll be anxious to know how many of you guys get some value out of her. And then next up we've got, I said I wasn't going to look at the list, but I had to, pretty much. We got the Knights Revenant in a Torux, a longsword, and I did try him out. He has got a unique passive where I felt like it was going to fit into these block damage compositions because he is on a 4-turn cooldown. When the damage exceeds more than 20% of this champion's max HP, will replace a block damage instantly, pretty much, right? And then counterattacks targets under provoke. So I thought maybe he can tank up the lead position and, you know, you got block damage for the rest of the AoEs and it'll do a pretty good job. But when I was trying it, it's like he's still taking the damage and then the block damage goes on afterwards. So he doesn't kind of like just stop it at 20%. Like, clan boss, hold up a second, you know? Like, don't hit me this hard and caps it. It's like he'll take the full damage and then the block damage goes up afterwards. And I don't feel like that's good enough for me personally. But I need to do more playtesting, see if that's exactly what I was seeing. But I did try it out pretty much a lot of the time and it wasn't working in the way that I wanted to. But there we go. But outside of that, he does have an increased defense and a provoke, maybe for Magma Dragon and Faction Wars, and also a leech on the A1 to heal up some of your allies, with a defense in dungeons by 25%, which is significant for a rare champion. Probably one of the most highest in the game, to be fair. I'm just thinking, like, where's he going to be useful? In dungeons, pretty much. Maybe just for some waves, some protection, you know? Bit of leech in there, but just the aura alone could be a pretty cool carry in early game. And then the last but not least, we had... Where is he? Well, we did Meat Carver, Selenia, Petrifier, Longsword Torix. Okay, so I feel like that was everyone. And then, of course, we've got Bambus Fourleaf, the Skinwalker Fusion, just so you guys can see the base stats. It is 110 base speed. Pretty high for a fusion here, right? Overall sustainability pretty high, 21,000, 1.2. That's nice. 30 base resistance and 20 accuracy. So overall, I'm pretty happy with those base stats coming out from Bambus. So yeah, on that note, guys, that is going to be all for today's video. If you did enjoy it, be sure to hit that like, subscribe button. Let me know what you guys got in your extra legendary event if you are summoning for it, and if you're excited for any of the 10x champions coming up this weekend. Catch you all in the video soon, and peace.